Welcome to the Look Who It Is podcast, where we sit down with artists to talk music, life, and all the stories in between. Now here's your host, Dane Engel.
Hey everyone, today I'm talking to California native Travis Neal from the metal band Fraxures. What have you been up to lately? What's new with you?
My current music endeavor, one of them is a band called Fraxures, out here in San Diego, loosely based in Southern California. We just released our second single through Cleopatra Records, and we did a cover, basically our own rendition of "It's No Good" from Depeche Mode. So we just put that out. Currently, kind of wrapping up our record. We're about halfway done with mixing. We have 10 more to go, and then tentatively setting it for a next year release. So that's kind of been it. We had one show that we did a couple weeks back where we debuted the single and released it. And then now it's just kind of the rest of the year, it's just focusing on getting this album done and released.
Nice. And so that was the show you did with Fear Factory headlining that?
Yeah, it was a Fear Factory show. We kind of jumped on it, and we weren't planning on doing any shows for the year or the rest of the year. We were going to focus on the record, and it was a good show. I was in a band at one time with Dino from Fear Factory, so
I remember that.
We hadn't seen each other in a really long time, and it was cool to share the stage with him again.
Yeah, takes me back, man. I used to listen to some Fear Factory.
Oh yeah, me too, man. I grew up on that stuff. It was good. It was really good. So.
Is that kind of what you've always listened to? You always been like a rock metal guy?
Yeah. I mean, from the beginning, I was more into like, I don't know, it was like bands like White Zombie back in the day and Metallica and that stuff. And then when I kind of heard new metal and heard Korn for the first time when they put out their first record, and like Deftones came out with Adrenaline, and Cold Chamber came out with their first record, and it kind of changed everything. And I was very much into it. Got more extreme from there. But I would say over the last like 15, 20 years, I still listen to heavy stuff, but I love like pop music. I love electronic music. I love indie rock, singer-songwriter stuff. Yes, it's more so a broader spectrum now over the last, couple decades. But the roots are definitely in metal, for sure. Right. So that's kind of where it all started.
It's funny you said Cold Chamber. I remember some Cold Chamber, the big truck.
Yeah. It was I look back on those records and I think about like the first Korn record, the first Cold Chamber record, the first Deftones record, and to me there was like nothing like that. It kind of had a vibe of its own, and it was fresh, and I still think that those albums, like, it's hard to touch those albums. But then with Deftones, at least, I always thought that, and then I heard Glassjaw, and I was like, oh, so that's where the Deftones came from. If you listen to old Glassjaw and listen to Glassjaw stuff, it's like, it sounds like the first Deftones record sounds like that a lot and stuff. But still, I mean, I think those records kind of stand on their own. That's why when you're like, I remember Cold Chamber, Big Truck, because it's like, there was nothing out there that sounded like that. It was just punchy, 3 chords, power chords, bar chords, and that's it. Just no solos, no double kicks, just in your face.
I remember when Slipknot's first album came out.
Yeah, that was huge.
That was huge.
And the fact that they were able to cross over, because you had Slipknot's first album came out, which is, to me, it was like a really heavy new metal kind of rock rap, because he rapped a lot. But then they were able to cross over, because I remember when I was growing up and I was listening to that, you had all the Heshers and all the stoners and all like the metal kids like listening to Slipknot, and they loved it. But then you had all these like prep kids and girls that loved Wait and Bleed. They're just singing Wait and Bleed. So they were able to like cross over into that fan base outside of metal. It was brilliant. Brilliant. So with that record, it was amazing.
What would you say your style of singing's closest related?
Um, I don't know. If we're talking about like the heavy side of my voice, I influenced a lot from like melodic death metal in Sweden, and Scandinavia and stuff like that. I loved that style of music. So I remember when I was younger and I first started hearing bands like In Flames and Soilwork. I didn't sing heavy like that, and I never. It's like these guys are. It's somewhere in between, like a full voice and a falsetto voice, and it's just like like rah, and I didn't know how to do that, and so I kind of reinvented and learned how to do that, and so I guess that would be more towards the heavy side of things. I mean, it has roots there. It's kind of, excuse me, taking kind of its own direction from there, and the clean voice. It started out with when I was younger with Stained, listening to Stained, like the first two records, that made me want to sing clean. Um, and then from there, I was wanting to do all the low stuff, and then I heard Shinedown, and Shinedown, I was like, man, this guy's got a voice, and I love Brett Smith's voice, and so it got me to sing more higher, and then I started listening to like pop stuff like Halsey and Rihanna and stuff like that, and so there's a little bit of that in there too. So it's hard to say when it comes to the clean voice. I mean, it pulls from all directions. So I can't really. I guess the long answer to that would be I can't really pinpoint exactly who I would compare myself closely or closest to, as a singer. I think there's so many people that have influenced me over the years that I don't even realize I've taken, little bits and pieces of, and it's just become part of my voice now.
I guess then what Depeche Mode, like what made you pull that song? Is that like just a favorite song of yours or
Depeche Mode, doing a Depeche Mode song was a bucket list for me. There's very few artists that I love that would be like bucket list items. So Depeche Mode, doing a Police song, I love the Police. Or like a really cool Pink Floyd song. And at the time when me and my friend Sahaj were working on the idea of doing a cover song, um, it was either this song he brought and I brought Comfortably Numb. And I did this whole weird down tempo, like electronic version of Comfortably Numb. And we decided on the Depeche Mode song. I love the song In Your Room, and not the original version, but like the more updated, like I think it's the '87 version of it. So that would have been the song that I always wanted to do. And Sahaj, he's a producer friend of mine, sings for a band called Raw, and is mixed and produced like nothing more. Um, I mean, this list is ridiculous. Star Set, but the concept kind of came from him. He brought the song. He was like, "Hey, I did a remake of this song. What do you think?" And I was like, let's do it. And he had an idea of where the vocals would have went, and I was like, all right, cool. Um, so it wasn't necessarily like that song would have been my top choice. It was just the idea and the way he sold it to me. It didn't seem like it would go any other way. And then it was put out under my own, just as a solo artist, an active rock version of the song. And then over the years, I've just brought it to my band and I was like, hey guys, this is a rad song. You guys want to play it? So then we reinvented it. But um, yeah, I guess it's more like a bucket list, not necessarily like one of my all time favorites. They were one of my and still are one of my favorites. But yeah, there's very few. So when it was brought up to do Depeche Mode, I was fully on board. If we can make this sound cool, yeah, I'll check it off the list. And it worked out. It sounds great in my opinion.
Yeah, I listened to it, and then I had to go back and listen to the Depeche Mode version, and it's
Yeah.
heavy, but it's you did a good job making it. I mean, you can tell it sounds just like the Depeche Mode song, but heavy, and then obviously in your vocals. But
Awesome. Yeah, we didn't want to take, I didn't want to lose, I wanted to be able to make a version of it that was our own, but I didn't want to lose the integrity of what the song was, or, the uniqueness of what makes that song special. So, all I did was just try to inject a little bit of steroids here and there to try to make it, pop a little bit more, make it more of a rock song, but without taking away from, being so far off the spectrum that somebody's listening to it and they're like, wait, that's what song? And you're like, oh yeah, it's the Depeche Mode song. Oh, I couldn't even tell, you know?
right,
So,
I love that. I love when bands or multiple artists or whatever, they'll put out like a just an album that's covers, but they're heavy of older songs or just songs that you
mhm,
wouldn't think. Or
yeah.
like when they do like bluegrass covers of like Metallica or something.
Oh man, with this AI stuff that's popping off right now, like the
Oh
AI
yeah.
covers that they're doing where they're taking these songs and doing like 1960s blues or soul songs. Like they have Sepultura and it's like roots, but it's like a soul, like James Brown wrote it. And it's absolutely ridiculous. It is so good. It is so good. And it's like, man, and everybody's like, oh, AI, AI, AI. But it's like, it's just somebody typing out, what their perfect version of a cover song would be of that song in that vein. Somebody still has to give it the cues, but yeah. But it's nice when you hear somebody actually do it, and come up with it. But yeah, some of these cover songs that are AI are absolutely they're just too good. I listen to them and I'm like, what am I even doing? Like, I should just be listening to this style of music all the time because this 1960s blues is amazing, and I've never taken the time to listen to it. So,
Yeah, when you already know the words to all of it too.
oh yeah. So when you hear like an iconic hook, I heard this one the other day. It was like a soul version of Paranoid, and it was so good, man. They come in, they're all rocking. He's like, ah, yeah, and then it goes in, it just mellows out. It goes into this halftime thing, and it's like, and he's just like, finish with my woman, 'cause she. It's so good, man. I listened to it like 30 times. Like, what am I doing? This is amazing. If somebody doesn't get a band together and put on some afros with a horn section and go out and start playing in a tribute band playing those songs, I don't know why I'm even telling your audience this because I'm shooting myself in the foot because I don't have the band to do it yet. But I mean,
Right.
it would. I mean, people would love it. People go nuts, you know. So, sorry, went off on a little
Yeah, no.
sidetracked on that one.
I agree because I mean it's not something that, because all that for like an actual band to learn and do it in that style would take forever. But if you could just type in these prompts and it generates it for
Hmm.
you, I mean, it's something
It's
you'd never even think of or know to even create.
Yeah, and it's just the exactly. It's like I listen to some of these songs and I go, I would have never thought I could have approached it with the angle of wanting to do it in that genre, in that style, but I would have never thought to do it that way. It's like so cleverly done and it's so incredibly just like if the song had a hook in it before, once they redo this hook and they do it in this, it's just like some of them I'm like, I like this better than the original. I know it's blasphemy because it's AI, it's Skynet wrote it, but oh my God, some of it is so good. I'm just like, I'd rather listen to this than listen to the original. It's so good.
Well, at least one day far in the future when it's just we're all gone and it's just robots and stuff, they'll be
Mhm.
jamming out to some good
Yeah.
ass music, huh?
Yeah. Like all these AI versions of it. It was like, oh yeah, this is the song, Iron Man by Soul Sabbath. And nobody will know the difference. They'll be like, I think because nobody will know who Black Sabbath is anymore. So It's interesting though. It's an interesting climate in music that we're living in right now. I mean, yes, the global climate is even more interesting, but just the climate of just music in general, and just all the new technologies, and it's happening so fast. It's just wild. It's wild to watch. Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't have been able to even do this if it wasn't for everything, and connecting with people
Yeah, man,
and
it's
hearing
really
their
cool what you're
music.
doing. That's super cool what you're doing. I was like, I came across your profile, and I was like, man, this is awesome. I'd love to get on with this guy. This guy seems awesome, you know? And then when you messaged me, you're like, hey, don't forget. I was like, oh my God, I forgot that we even confirmed. Thank you for sending the message. That's so good.
I yeah, can you got people that put their music out, and you can just go on and you can hear, you know, 30 seconds, and then you can automatically tell you're like, I'm going to like this band or
Hmm.
not, and then you can just look them up on Spotify and then listen to everything, and then everything's, you know, put out. A lot of them are independent artists,
Hmm.
so they can just put out their music whenever they want. A lot of people even just record in their own home and put it out. I mean, I don't I think producers are very important. I think they do a great job. And I mean, some people, put out music and it, it's not that good
Yeah,
because it's
it's
so
true.
easy to put out.
Yeah, it's definitely true. And I was anti-producer, anti anybody dipping their hands into like my songs and like my ideas of where I was going with the songs. And once I relinquished that like control, I just said, you know what, just let it go. I've The producers that I've had a chance to work with have literally brought the best out of me that I couldn't even imagine myself doing, even to the point where I remember, we would be tracking it and I would be like, I don't know, man, this is not me. This is, dude, I don't like it. Trust me, bro. Trust me. Just lay it down. I'm like, I don't even know. It's a weird key. Don't worry about it. Just trust me. And then I'll get the song back after they've mixed everything and like layered in with the backing layers that they're having me do that they hear that I don't think make any sense. And I'm just like, I can't believe that. I can't believe that's me. Wow. So yes, but we definitely live in a day and age where, you don't need a label if I mean, unless you really want to go, if you have a financial backer, if you're backed financially, whether it's yourself or you could take an independent band pretty far. Um, but I mean, at the end of the day, a label is, if you want to go through distribution, if you want to get like, vinyls made and certain stuff made, that stuff can get pretty expensive if you're doing it independently. Or, if you're trying to aim towards like radio, because that stuff can get really expensive. But other than that, if you're just putting out music and trying to promote it, I mean, it just all depends on how deep, how big of a rabbit hole you want to jump into and how deep you want to go down. When it comes to it, you can get your music just about to anybody. It's just learning the algorithms, learning the proper tags, and so when you're doing your promotions, you're properly laying everything in so it's getting to that target audience that you want. And you just sink a couple $100 into that, and you can get a whole lot farther you know than getting on a label, and you know now you owe them money for doing all that stuff. So
Yeah, I think that is a hardest part of it is getting your music to your targeted audience.
it is. It's because I mean, these socials, they give you the tools to do that. They give you all the necessary tools that you need to I mean, literally pinpoint your target audience to a T. But they don't give you the template or the booklet on how to do it. They like, hey, we got all these tools available to you, but you have to take the time and you have to research and you have to find out what is going to be this and what is going to be that that's going to bring you down this road get to your target audience, and the proper, other bands that they listen to, the proper, I mean, it goes across the board, everything from fashion to, all of that stuff. So yeah, it's cool. It's definitely cool. It's just it's a lot of work, and a lot of people get defeated, I think, because they're like, now you have to be the songwriter, you have to be the performer, you have to be the band, you have to be the video director, you have to be the video editor, you have to be the content creator, you have to be like the marketing and the AR. It's like you have to be all of that stuff. It's not just writing music anymore. But the cool thing about it is we have the tools to do it. It's just everybody kind of looks for the easy way out, and I've been guilty of it too, where you're just trying to throw it the quickest way possible. You're like, I don't want to research into this. I'm just gonna, you know, everybody that listens to this and this and this band, and that's based out of San Diego in a 50-mile radius around, I'll throw in $50 on an Instagram ad for that, and it's great, but it's literally gonna give you like 5 casts out in a big old pond, and you might catch like a little guy. You're not going to catch that, that big old catfish or anything like that. You know what I mean? So you just got to research and find out what your target audience should be.
I think finding shows and booking the right shows and being with the right bands and to play with and stuff is huge too.
Yeah, definitely. Getting in, having it's 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 kind of like gang talk. You got to have like your clique. You got to have your posse, like your gang. You have your brotherhood bands that are in your scene, and you're putting together shows with them. They draw, you draw, um, and that's great for local markets. That's why I've never understood why like people beef with each other in local markets. It's like beef of which band's better, or this band's better, or that band's better. It's like, man, you're in a local market. You're clawing, trying to get up the wall. The last thing you need is to make enemies crawling up that wall, because you're going to get up there a lot faster if y'all join hands and you make like the human ladder to get out of there. You know what I mean? And but yeah, and I love versatility on shows. I've seen a lot of good shows where it's kind of like all the same package and all the same bands, and then I've seen some more incredible shows where you have a band that is one genre and a band that's another genre and a band that's another genre and another genre. Yeah, they all might be a metal band or rock or hard rock or black metal or death metal, but it's cool because then um, it doesn't sound like you just watched the same band 4 times. You know, it's like having those shows are killer. So, booking the right shows, the right appearances is great.
How much of your life do you think, like now, do you dedicate to music now? Like, is it everything you do?
Well, I guess I always called it. I was always chasing the dragon. That's what it's just the terminology for it. So I would say there was a good part of my life about, you know 8 years ago, that it was all about the music. It was like, you know that was it. And if anybody stood in the way, they were like removed. I had no loyalties to anybody that would stand in the way of what I was trying to create. And it was a shitty way of thinking, but I mean, that's kind of the mentality that I think you have to have in order to get into get into the industry. Because the industry, if you're not tough as nails in some way, shape, or form, it's not for everybody, and it will literally chew you up and spit you out like right away. And now, I'm more mature. I'm in my more mature years, and I still dedicate a lot of time. I have to balance now. Life isn't just being on the road all the time. So, I have a career here at home outside of music, that I maintain, and you got your living situations and your bills and everything. But I would say instead of 100%, I'm probably around 65, maybe 70. I mean, my son's grown. I was a father at a young age, so my son's grown up and he lives in Hollywood, and he's doing music as well. So I don't have like small children at home. So I'm not not in a relationship. I don't have small children at home. So I'm like in my working years. So I'm just focused on like working, and when I'm not working, I'm working on music. So I can dedicate that 40 hours solid of my life and still have to life, and still have 60 hours of free time to make music still. And sometimes it's more productive than other times. Sometimes I'll go a couple months without even sitting down at the computer or picking up an instrument, just standard rehearsals. And like for instance, this month I'm on the the end steps of completing like 4 songs already this month. So I guess then maybe sometimes my life dedicated to music, it's at 60, then maybe sometimes it's at 20, and maybe sometimes it's at 30. It's kind of all over the place. But I try to stay at a solid 60, just keep up on everything and keep up with what's around me, the music, the genres, and maintain my instrument.
So, what's your writing process like now then?
Um, with with the band, what we do is a lot of times those guys will come up and they'll bring music to me, and because I prefer as a vocalist, I prefer to have like something solid to listen to. I like to be able to hear what the drums are doing. I like to be able to hear what the guitars and the bass is doing, and everything, like not just trying to write in a rehearsal space. I prefer to get the song and map it out from there. So that's usually how it works with the band. I'll do that. I'll go back, and then there's another singer as well. He's not like a second full-time singer, but he's not just a backup singer. It's like we kind of interweave in and out of each other. I figure if you're gonna have a two-singer band, you can't just have two singers singing what one singer could sing by himself. So we'll get together, and I'll bring an idea up, and then he'll come up with some stuff, and then we'll start weaving it in and out, and figuring it out from there. And then as for solo stuff, I have a solo band it's called Travis Neal and the Collective, and it's basically a lot of it is my music that I've written throughout the years that I've never really been able to play outside of just recording it, and then splashing a couple covers, and we make them our own. But it's a fully unplugged band, so we have an actual live drummer, but everybody plays acoustics. And with that, and with this music that I'm writing currently right now, I've been on this huge post black metal kick, like for like the last year. All I've been listening to, and I sat down. I was like, I want to write a black metal song, and I actually was able to play it. And I was like, oh wow, I've never written anything like this, and it actually doesn't suck. So I've been doing that. So those are usually what I like to do is I'll like to I like to map out the entire song first. Same as what I would kind of expect from a band to do before I sit down and write vocals for it. I'll write all the song, I'll listen to it, and then go back and change a couple things, and then listen to it for a couple days, and then go back and change a couple things, and then I'm good with it. And then I'll start writing the vocals, map out the melodies for it first, and then come in. I'll usually map out the melodies with just a raw vocal guide, just mumbling gibberish, but in key. And then I'll write the lyrics around that. So uh, it's it's definitely, I guess, more involved when you're writing by yourself than or for a solo thing than when you're writing with a band. You're got the 5 or 4 other people involved, and then you got one person involved, and you're trying to like do it all. So challenge accepted. I still love doing it all.
Where do your lyrics come from?
Um, it depends. Most of my lyrical content throughout the career that I've had has is geared around emotion. It's very heavily rooted in personal experience. But I have also written like story based as well, where I'll take a theme or a subject and write kind of a story around it. For the longest, I've been a big, huge Silent Hill fan for since like '99 when the first game, came out, and I've always loved Akira Yamaoka, the composer that does the music. Always loved his music, and I've always loved the game. So I think up until recently, up until like the last couple records that I've done, I've always had like a Silent Hill theme song on there, and but you'd never know it was a Silent Hill theme song because it sounds just like written as a personal experience, but it's based around like a story from the game or a segment from the game. Um, so but lately with the Fraxures record, it was it was a very difficult process. It took for those guys. We started working on music when COVID happened. Like everybody obviously was out. We were like, okay, well, we have a couple. We just we released an EP. We have a couple new songs. Like we want to write a whole record. We got downtime, might as well. Um, and so 2000, 2001, these guys are just pumping out music, and I couldn't for the life of me uh, like come up with anything for like a year. And I mean, it got to a point where I was calling them and I was having a meeting with those guys, and I was like, "Hey, look, I'm just trying to be an adult about this, and I'm trying to be as mature as possible, but I just don't feel like I'm bringing to the table my 20% of this 100% band, um, and I think I'm holding you guys back." And they were like, "Man, no, it's all good. Just we're not in any hurry. We're not in any hurry." And then in a October 8th of 2023, I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, and kind of everything changed after that. I had a surgery. I had the whole ascending side of my colon removed. I had a baseball sized tumor that had grown into my abdominal wall, removed. And then I went into a heavy stage of 6 months of like heavy chemo treatments. Weekly infusions. It was like 1 week on, 1 week off. So I would go in on a Monday, and I have like a portacath that's like still here. It's like, and it's got a tube that goes down into my heart. Still here. I haven't taken it out yet. It's like a part of me. It's like I feel like I'm a cyborg because I got that. But they would do like 2.5 hour, 3 hour infusions through that. And then I would have to wear this pump thing that would like intravenously kind of pump it every few minutes for another 2 days. And then Wednesday I'd get my pump off. Thursday, Friday I'd feel like absolute dog crap. And then, Saturday I'd start coming out of it, and Sunday, and then I would have a whole week off. That was good. And I was getting disability, and I was off like paid for 11 months, and my disability checks were like pretty decent because I had a prevailing wage project that I was on prior to going out. So like I was living good, and it sucked. So in that time that I'd have on the good weeks, I would use a lot, or utilizing that to kind of still keep up, with music and stuff. I couldn't play guitar because I had really bad neuropathy in my hands, so I couldn't feel my fingertips. I couldn't feel the pads of my feet. I'd walk, my balance was all off, but I'd still like try to play, and I'd still try to keep going. And taking drive out to Joshua Tree, which is like 2.5 hours away, 3 hours away, and just kind of for it sounds hokey, but just be able to leave everything and leave all the stuff that's going on at home with the treatments and stuff, and just be able to just kind of like take it in and feel the energy of that place. That place is amazing. So about 2 months before I finished my last round of chemo, I started going over to the bass player's house to track vocals. It's like, hey, we really need to get these vocals done. They're like, yeah. And obviously they would have given me the time that I needed. And I was like, I'm feeling like I can do it. I'm feeling like I can do it. And, because we did with the record, we recorded the drums in a recording studio. All the rest was recorded on our own DAWs at home, through Pro Tools and everything. And then we sent everything out to be mixed and mastered, and we edited everything ourselves and everything. So naturally I was tracking vocals at the bass player's house, and like we just queued up one song, and it was like a fire hose, man. Like just wide open. There was no corks, no blocks. I recorded 3 songs that first day. Vocally wrote them, mapped them all out, wrote all the lyrics, wrote all the melodies, tracked them. Track 1, did the same thing again. Track the second, did the same thing again. Track second, and it's been like no looking back since then. So um, it's it's been a wild journey, with the whole like writing process with this band. It came to a point of breaking, but like, I'm not gonna sit here and say, certain things in life didn't change me, but I think it just made me um, appreciate what was in front of me even more. And because before I got sick, I was struggling a lot with depression, and like the home life wasn't good. I was in a very very chaotic relationship, and was trying to break free, and whatever the case may be, and so it was just stifling altogether. And I think it just made me like realize that when you get when you get sick like that, and you're like your health is compromised, and you're like, oh shit, like I might die. I'm like making last, final life arrangements in the event. It was like all the other stuff, no matter how big it is in your life, your bills, your relationships, just as much as it sucks, it's so small, it becomes so minuscule. So after that, it was just like, man, all this shit doesn't matter. Like this matters. This is what's cool. This is why I'm here. This is what I do. This is what I set out to do when I was like 15 years old, and I got my first bass, and I said, I want to play music. That's what I want to do. So, I think I needed that jump, that kick. I don't know where we got off talking about that or where it led into. I got a pretty scattered brain sometimes. But yeah, I think it all kind of tied in with the songwriting, right?
Yeah. No, dude, that's
Okay.
great. Yeah. No. So you guys gonna come out next year with this album? You gonna do a tour?
I don't know. That's a good question. We got, when kind of signing on with Cleopatra, it was something that was very unexpected. I don't think any of us were trying physically to get a record deal. And when they just came out and offered us, and we were just like, huh, sure, that sounds great. And the deal we have with them is great. It's a distribution deal, so it's not anything too crazy. But I think now that since a deal is in place, that it probably, it would be wise to support the record with some touring. Um, so I don't know. It just all depends. We're still very independent. We're self managed. We've worked with some producers, but mostly self produced. Other than if the label wasn't involved, we would be fully, fully self supported. So right now we're trying to lock down a good manager, and either a booking agent or a manager that might, book as well. So I think once that's in place, once we get the right manager, it's going to kind of be like, shit or get off the pot. A real manager is going to be like, all right, cool. So when are we going out on the road? Because obviously his job is to manage and to drum up work. So he gets paid when we get paid. And if we're not doing any of that stuff, then nobody's getting paid. So, um, I definitely think it'd be cool, but we're definitely gonna going to seek out the right tour with the right, the right area, the right geographic locations and stuff like that, instead of just kind of jumping on the first thing that comes along. I think that we're not kids anymore, so we have to kind of pick and choose our battles a little bit, the ones we decide to take on. So, but I don't think it's out of the question. It would just, it's not confirmed yet.
Now, I'm sure where you're at, though, there's probably plenty of places pretty close. I mean, within
Yeah,
at
we
least a
could.
couple hours that you could go.
Yeah, we could do like little mini runs. There's a friend of ours, a band out of San Diego. It's called Cascade Effect, and that's kind of what they do. They'll book out and do, a couple shows in Arizona for the weekend, or do, Vegas, Arizona, New Mexico, or so on. Just San Diego, LA, San Francisco. So yeah, I mean everything's relatively close to here. I mean, well, in San Diego, where our drummer is in LA, so LA is like 2 hours away. Our bass player lives halfway in between LA and San Diego. So those markets are definitely attainable. It's like 6 hours to Phoenix. It's about 5.5 hours, 6 hours to Phoenix, 5.5 hours, 6 hours to Vegas. San Francisco is like about 10 hours away, but it's not far fetched to go. I mean, you can hit those markets. I mean, if you really want to go far, you can go out to Salt Lake City, or you can go, to New Mexico or Texas. But everything's just kind of, just all depends on, how and how to plan the route and go. So luckily we're not somewhere like in North Dakota where where everything's like so far away. You can play places, but you're going to drive a day to get there. You know what I mean? So
Exactly. Yeah, I'm from Indiana, so it's kind of like
nice.
that here.
What part?
Yeah, I mean, uh, I live west central, like right on the Indiana-Illinois line. I'm about three
Okay.
hours from St. Louis and 3 hours from Chicago, and an hour
Okay.
from
Yeah.
Indianapolis.
Nice. I
So
had a band out in Chicago for a while called the Bloodline, a few years back. So I would travel out there a lot. But Sahaj, the guy I was talking to, he lives in Fort Wayne, Indiana,
oh yeah,
and
okay, yeah.
he lived up in LA, and then he relocated out there, and he's got a killer studio out there, and that venue that's in Fort Wayne is killer too. So yeah, I was curious. I've been to Indianapolis and played in Fort Wayne. I probably played a couple other places there. I just don't remember because they were smaller. But when I was in the band in Chicago, we would kind of, Wisconsin and Indiana and Illinois and Michigan, just kind of try to hit all those areas, because they're just, there's good markets in all those surrounding states. So that's awesome, man. Indiana. I mean, California's cool, man, but it sure sucks right now. you know?
Yeah, it's not bad. I've lived here all my life. So I can't complain.
Nice. Yeah, I've done stints in like different states. I went to Nevada for a little bit, and I think I lived in Fort Worth for about 2 years. And um, other than that, just kind of lived on the road like a gypsy. But yeah, there's some beautiful, beautiful areas out there. That's what I like the Midwest. I like all that area. I love the thunderstorms and electrical storms you guys get out there. It's amazing. It's amazing. So every time, I haven't been back in a long time, but hopefully one day I'll go back and visit some friends or something, or maybe roll through on the road.
Yeah, yeah. You have to come to Indiana on your tour. You
Yeah,
can do your.
definitely. I mean, it's always been great crowds out there. Fort Wayne's always been awesome. Minneapolis has always been awesome.
So now you Fractures now, like everybody that's in it has been in like another band or something like that at some point in time, right?
Yes, yes. A couple of us have been in bigger bands than the other guys, but we all have experience when it comes to we all just didn't get together and just start a band. We've all been kind of around the block a couple times. Unfortunately, some of us a few more than others.
Do you think that's like helps you guys? Like, because I mean, obviously you all kind of know what you're getting into, like what you just explained. You kind of have the foresight of not just signing a label or anything like that?
Yeah, it definitely does. It's good that a couple of us have had our feet in the industry for a little while, and have had experience with various record deals and contracts. A couple of the other guys haven't. This is their first one, so it's definitely all new to them. But the good thing about it is they're not like, they're not kids that are, like in their early 20s. They've lived a little bit of life, and they have they have that street smart, and they kind of know how the industry works and stuff like that. And it's good. Yeah, so it definitely helps, because there's a lot of pitfalls that you can fall into if you don't know certain things. I mean, a lot can happen when you sign your name on a piece of paper. Like, it's always, you know, it's always like the carrot dangling in front of you that gets you to the giant treasure chest, but all that small print is all the thorn bushes, and all the dead ends that you're going to run into on your way to getting to that treasure chest, like all the pitfalls and stuff. So it's good to know that stuff, because some of that stuff could potentially really really hurt you as an artist. And I mean, time is always told. I mean, we all know of a story from some band that got screwed out of screwed out of money, or, you know, contracts or whatever, just by making bad deals. And there's a lot of great artists that never really got off the ground because they signed bad deals. So it's good to know. It's definitely good to have somebody look at that stuff. If you don't have anybody that knows, that has kind of been around it a little bit.
What do you think are other perks or bonuses or whatever that you guys are all well rounded in?
It definitely helps with the songwriting process as well, um, because the more experience that you get, and the more time you spend writing with others, the more you're able to kind of. I mean, let's face it. If you're a musician of any sort, you have some sort of ego somewhere. Like it's whether it's an unhealthy ego or a healthy ego. There's ego there, and as an artist, whether that's painting a painting, or making a movie, or sculpting something, or making music. I mean, when you make that and you conceive that, it's very personal. And so with musicians, a lot of times, um, a lot of bands have various songwriters, and then they'll come to the table with stuff. And if you haven't had much experience in doing that with other musicians and stuff, or you get younger guys, they don't understand that. Hey, that's cool, but let's keep trying. They don't understand that's you know there's a group effort, and it's like, well, what do you mean let's keep trying? It's perfect. I've been guilty of it. It's perfect, dude. Like, it doesn't need to be changed. Like, this is, what do you mean we need to like work it through? Like, I just brought you like gold here. And I think a lot of us, we do that. And having guys that have spent more time and are more seasoned and stuff, it makes that process easier, because um, if somebody says that, then nobody gets offended and nobody takes it the wrong way. Constructive criticism is, it's dished out and taken, because when you get to a point where you don't need your ego in that situation, where you can be raw and you can be vulnerable and you can be bare, then you understand that you can only take it so far. It's like having a producer, but when in a band you got three or four other guys that are other producers that have their own ideas, and it's like, you know with, just like I was explaining before, with working with a producer, I don't know about that. Trust me. Just trust me. Just let's put it together. Just put it together. Let's just put it together, because everything, is to a click, so you can line everything up. Let's just cut that part out and we'll put it together. Just trust me. Just listen to it. If you don't like it, don't save it. We'll go back to the original. All right, cool. And there's been so many times where I listen to it and I'm just like, oh, I wouldn't even have thought to do that. I wouldn't even have thought to do that. Like that sounds so good. And now we're still in the process of it. We're still working out the fine details. We have, excuse me, um, 5 of the 10 songs for our upcoming record, Hexes, done, mixed, mastered. And then we're in the process of kind of finalizing the other 5, cleaning up anything that, seems out of place, maybe some timing issues or whatever. Um, so right now we're like really involved in doing that. And there's been some things where like, hey, look, why don't we try this? And I'm like, why are we even trying that? Like the song's been done for, you know, 7 months and we haven't messed with it at all. Well, let's just try the original bridge that we did. And it was like, well, we moved on from that bridge, for a reason. Like, why are we going backwards? And it was like, this was kind of an argument. I'm just putting in place. It's an argument that we literally just had earlier in the week before you and I spoke. And, it was kind of one of those things. Let's just vote on it. And I'm like, what? Okay. So then, Vinny, our bass player, he does a lot of like the editing when it comes to music. He'll do a lot of our like we mix a rough demo so we can all hear it. He's the guy that does it. So he's kind of like our engineer. I do a lot of the editing when it comes to like vocal editing, alignment, uh, and a lot of like the instrument alignments and editing stuff. We all kind of have our own thing. So, he's the one that's in there and he's like, come on, just trust me, just trust me. And I'm like, all right, cool. And we brought the old bridge back in one of our songs and we kind of Frankensteined it with part of the new one and a part of the old one, and it actually worked. It sounds great. And it was like at first I was like, "Ugh, I don't know, man. It seems like, we're thinking a little bit too much of it, and it sounds great. And when you have experienced guys that you're working with, that know the ebb and flow of everything, then you don't run into situations where, you know, somebody's like, absolutely not. Like I don't even want to hear it. I don't like it. I don't want to hear it. It's I want it this way, and it makes it a lot easier when it comes to that. So that was probably the really long answer, but it's pretty to the point.
Yeah. I always wonder, like, do you treat it more like a friendship or you treat it more like work?
Uh, you know what? When it feels like work, that's when it becomes a problem. Um, you know, the driving force of what makes you want to start creating music, when you start creating music, whenever that is, whenever what point in your life you do, um, it's art and it comes out of your soul, and you're excited about it, and it's like you're creating something. It's not a job. And when it becomes a job, that's what makes it a little more difficult, because when you get into a situation where you're doing it on a professional scale, we don't write music like we used to anymore. It's got to be, we have to think of all the factors. It needs to have this hook here, this hook there. It needs to make sure the vocals are coming in at this time. It needs to make sure the song's this long, and it has this flow and it has this and this and this, because you're aiming towards this market. And it becomes like a big deal, and you lose track of it. And so now, um, I think at first when we started together as a band called The Hero Within, and then as we started progressing through our music and writing new music and stuff, we just, especially during COVID, actually, we felt it was the right time to rebrand. That's where Fractures came from. And we just felt like the more we wrote, we just felt like it wasn't the same band anymore. Um, we had a new drummer, they had a new singer, and there's different, different palettes that are now coming to, to the party. And so I think at the beginning we tried to do that. I was very much like, you know, trying to keep it very um, pro, so it was very work related. It got really stale for me. It became a hard thing for me, where they would send me music and I would just be like, I don't even want to do this right now. I'd rather sit and play PlayStation because it felt like a job. And we're to the point now where we're all like family. We're all like brothers. We we can have arguments. I mean, bad arguments and bad disagreements, and you know, walk away for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and come back, and it's all good. And that's how we are when we write, and we'll argue out some parts. There's stuff that all of us have been in the seat of, I really loved it, but unfortunately, I was the only one that really loved it, and four other people were like, they voted against it. Um, and I might, you guys, you get a little bit of my ego getting in the way, or one of the other guys, and that really doesn't really go any doesn't really go anywhere. It's like, "Arr." So we just, we'll have our disagreements and stuff. I think, especially when you don't look at it like work. If you have disagreements with somebody at work, then you don't want to come to work anymore. If you have like a verbal altercation with your boss, he's going to tell you, kick rocks, or, you can't tell your boss to go F off, you know what I mean? So it's like, when it's a work environment, I don't think it serves anybody. You have to always keep that mentality of, remember where you came from, remember what started it, remember what fueled you, what was, you got this blazing fire now, but you got to remember, when you were stoking it, and like, on that show alone, you're out in the woods just trying to, start your fire with a little stick and some moss. You just got to always remember that. So yeah, I think that our dynamic now is very streamlined to what we do, and we look at each other like, I look at those guys. I would trust them with my life. I would trust them with, handling my final wishes if I had to, because they know me just like I know them. I feel like I've known them my whole life. I've cried in front of them. I've screamed at them. I've had talked to them about the most personal things that you wouldn't talk to people normally about, and I know that it'll never leave the room, and they know that it'll never leave the room if they had to talk to me, or if they had to lean on me, or we have a disagreement, and it's a really, really cool feeling to be that way. So definitely another long story, even longer. I would say, not work, brotherhood, not just friends, actual, like, brothers from other mothers. So,
Then how about your guys' sound? Like, do you all pretty much have the same sound that with, like, when you make the music, you're like, yeah, it's got to be heavy here, and it's like it's got to have this much, like scream, this much, singing.
no, because we all come from different avenues. I don't think that there is an artist that we all collectively listen to every day. That's one of our favorite artists that we all collectively listen to. Like, our favorite artists and our influences are so different between all of us. So a song I bring to the table might not be the same style song that Nolan brings to the table, or Esty brings to the table, or Vinny, or Fred. You know, so I don't think we set out to do anything. It's just we just come to the table with what you're feeling that day, and hey guys, I popped out this idea, and it could be something heavy, it could be something light, it could, I generally will take a song, like if they send me a song, they'll lay it all out and everything like that, and then I'll take it. And I love, like, I love backing layers, like synth layers and like sequencing layers that are just tucked in the mix. I love backtracks, and I'm not ashamed to say backtrack. And everybody's like, "Wow, yeah, backtracks," It's like, um, I love backtracks. It's to have a full orchestra or a synth player or something, somebody that's not another member in the band, that, you know, because that's a really hard thing to find, is a really good synth player. It's 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 awesome if me and Nolan are singing like an interweaving part where we're harmonizing with each other, but there's like a screen that comes in there. Um, it's okay to have it on a backtrack to me. So what I'll do is I'll take the song, and then I sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I'll break it down, and I'll break it down into sections, and I'll build parts for it, interludes, little parts, take parts out, take parts in. So, you know, Esty may give me a song, and then I give him a different song back, and he's like, whoa, this is not what I sent you. And it's like, this is kind of what I was thinking, and it's like, okay. And then, so now he knows where I'm at. I know where he's at. And then same for everybody else. We all will know where each other's at on it. And then when we come back in, then we'll start basically trimming out the fat of, and molding it and bringing it all together into a cohesive sound. And whatever that sound is, it's never planned. We never set out to, like, yeah, we need to write a real barn burner today. Like, I want to write a song that's just all the way through. You know, um, I don't think we've ever done that. We just write whatever comes out. There's these songs that are coming out on this record have been. We started writing them during COVID, so like 2020. And they've been through so many changes. And I mean, it's over the last like 2.5, 3 years, we've been kind of just going back and going forward and going back and going forward, and just slowly trimming out the fat of each one of these songs. And as the artists that made the songs with the band, we all sit down and we like listen to, like, Rev 1, and then like Rev 26, and how much it's evolved over time. Because, there's a lot of times where you'll write a record, and I mean, every musician does it. If unless somebody doesn't not write their own stuff, you know, and they're just, I mean, every musician does it. They'll go back and they'll listen to it, and they'll be like, oh man, I should have added this part here. Oh God, I wish I would have put a layer in right there. It would sound so good. You end up doing it live anyway. You end up changing it, which is the cool thing too, when you go see a band live that you love, and you're so used to hearing what they do on the record, and then they throw in like this other stuff live, and you're like, yes. It's generally like the afterthoughts that come after, man, I wish I would have put this right here. And then you're like, fuck it, I'll just sing it like that live, and it works out good. But we have the time to really do that. We have the time to really like go through. And like I said, we're on the cusp of, having the record done. Um, Sending off the last 5 songs, you know, as even us being on a label, we're still doing it fully independent. We still pay for our mixes, we're paying for our mastering and stuff like that. The label is the representative, and they're going to help us get it out, but we're bringing them the full product. And so the finances, we're at the point now where it's good, because we didn't have the money to do it right away. The whole process of this thing is kind of been a lot of money. And we still got to come up with, another half of it because we only got half of it done. So the fact that we've had to do that and the fact that we have to budget and stuff has allowed us to kind of take the time to fine tooth comb it. And we're going to send the rest of it out on the 7th. That's the date that it goes out. So right now we're in there, we're all like, the mix is like the baby monkey and we're the big monkey, just getting all the little fine little fleas out of there. So then, coat's all nice and clean, looks shiny. Now you can go get a date, and find yourself a girlfriend and leave home, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's nice. It's definitely nice. It's been a long process, and there's been a lot of people waiting a long time for it, and we still have their support, and they're still excited and they're still waiting. And I think we're all finally to the point now where we're just as excited to release it as I think people are as excited to hear it because they've been waiting on it for so long. It's usually you wait on something for long enough, you kind of lose interest. And we've had like some of them drop off, but where one door closes, like three more open, and people are stoked. So we're stoked. I mean, this thing is going to be, it's like this is my life's work. I'm going to unleash upon you. I've been doing it for 150 years. That's kind of how I feel. Like the final, the grand finale of my life. So, but yeah, we're really stoked. I got another person I'd like to send your way too. This girl, Samantha Hitano, she sings for an all female. Well, they have a male drummer, but it started out all female. It's an all female Pantera tribute called "Cowgirls from Hell."
Nice.
And
Actually, I think I've seen this.
oh, okay,
Yeah, this
yeah,
sounds familiar to me.
she's one of my really good friends, and man, she would sing for this other band called Squirrely Arts. It's like kind of electronic industrial, and she does all the makeup and stuff. And but yeah, they've done a lot of touring and stuff. She'd probably be pretty fun to talk to. Probably have some
Yeah,
fun
dude.
stories to tell. Plus
I'm always up
she's
for
she's a good
referrals.
person to talk to. So
Yeah, heck yeah, dude. Yeah, like talking to anybody that I know makes good music, and
hmm
who am I to judge? But I feel like I have a hard time talking to somebody if I don't like their music.
yeah,
True.
I mean,
Or
I mean, what are you going to talk to him about?
right. Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, yeah, you have to like, even if it's not, because I like about any genre of music, and I'll listen to anything, but I have to like it, I guess, to want to have them
Yeah,
on and
yeah,
talk to
you
them.
definitely. There's been so many times where I've had people, you know, they'll hit me up and they'll want to ask me if I could do guest vocals on some of their stuff. Hey, can we hire you to sing on a song with us? Okay, cool. Yeah. For a long time, I'd be like, yeah, and I mean, this was, probably, 12, 13, 14 years ago. I would get these things, and, I would say, yeah, this is how much I'll charge. And they're like, oh, I got it. I'm on it. No problem, no problem. And then, you agree to it and everything like that. And then they send you the music and you're just like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? There's been a couple times where it's been like that. And I end up finishing it, but it's like, it takes me three times as long. So now if somebody asks me, hey, can we do guests? You want to do guest vocals? I'm like, yeah. So stipulation A, like, send it to me, and if I vibe on it, we can vibe with it, and it's good, then I'll let you know. If not, then I'll just respectfully pass. But I've done so many things where it's like you can get the music and you're just like, whew, um, all right, let's figure out how to do this. And so now it's the same, like, got to vibe on it first or whatever. So yeah, you definitely. I think it'd be really hard to be interested in somebody's story if you already don't really care for their music. It's like you're talking to somebody you don't really like. But I've met plenty of people that I didn't really care for their music that I love them to the moon and back, that have been friends my whole life with that. You know, it's not like I didn't like their music. It was just, it wasn't really my cup of tea, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that makes it easier when it's somebody that you can, you got something in common with at their music. Hey man, I really like your stuff. I really like this song. Starts up the conversation.
Yeah. And I've had a lot of different genres and different people, but usually I think like the age range is usually about the same. So that's going to change for me here soon, and it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, so like usually everybody's probably within 5-10 years of my age. It's not like I'm talking to
Hmm.
somebody that's 30 years younger than me or 30 years older than me or something like that. But so that'll be interesting. But as long as I still like and appreciate their music, I think it'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah, yeah, that is gonna be a trip when you're talking to somebody that's like 19, 20, and they're totally making traction and getting going, but they're at a young age, like the whole train of thought is gonna be foreign. You're just gonna be like, wait, what? But
Yeah,
you got kids, so you understand. But they're not like teenagers or 20
right.
years old, 21, and trying to make a career for themselves. Like I've been working with my son since he was 16. That's when he decided that he wanted to do music, and he's 24 now. And I've been developing him since then, and it was like the train of thought is different. So, he had to kind of like it, he had to kind of like make his own mistakes. I could tell him, hey, don't do that. It's the same thing as like you tell your kid, like, hey, don't grab that plug with wet hands, you're gonna get zapped. And they'd be like, and then I'm crying and shit. So it's like he kind of had to make his own way, and it was hard at the time. I remember talking to him about it and trying to explain to him, and it's like, well, no, Dad, you don't understand. You're old head. You're an old head. You don't understand. It's like you come from a different time than I do. You don't Things are different now. But I'm like, it's not real different. I'm just trying to like kind of save you from falling into some of the traps that I fell into. Yeah, I got it. So it's gonna be it'll definitely be an interesting thing when you get like some of these younger artists, that haven't had the experience yet and they're just getting their toes wet.
Your music videos.
Yeah,
Who does that? How did you get those done?
that's our bass player,
Yeah.
Vinny. He directed the Remember video. He directed and made the Great Barrier video, which is all green screen. And then he was able to like kind of put us where we needed to be and got some footage together. And then when we did Blackheart Serenade, that was that was the first time like Fred had been involved, the drummer, as an active producer. Vinny was able to just kind of like kick back, but he does all the drone stuff. And we had this other guy, Darren, that was amazing. But Holly, Fred's girlfriend, she directed it, and then so we brought back basically the same team for It's No Good. Fred and Holly directed it, and Vinny kind of produced it, and so it's all in house, which makes it amazing and incredibly cost effective when you're trying to make content. Because good video stuff it gets expensive. So, but yeah,
Right.
man, we're lucky. I can't I can't even begin to express, like, I feel like it's a dream team. Like there's each person in the band like brings something special that they do. That is one last thing that we have to hire somebody to do. So it makes it absolutely amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, I seen the videos and I was like, dang, I was like, these, look very well done. And like you actually had went to a studio and had this
Yeah, yeah.
done.
Fred edited he did all the editing on It's No Good, and I believe Vinny and Fred edited Blackheart as well. So they kind of both did and it's cool because both of them have completely different styles when it comes to that. And um, when they put it together, it's kind of cool. It's like lacing that red over the blue and looking through it, and everything's in 3D now. You know what I mean? So
Nice.
it's super cool, man. It's super cool.
All right, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go now. But
All right, brother. Well,
all
you
right,
have a good
man.
night. Thanks again, dude. It's awesome talking to you as always.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I'll keep in touch, man.
All right. Talk to you soon,
All right.
brother.